Hello everyone, and welcome to another beer review. Now today we seem to be kind of going through all the kind of products of certain breweries. I've done a couple of the Otter Brewery kind of products, and I think I've got another couple still to do that I'm going to do. But today we're back on Fuller's, and we've got ESB to do, the legendary ESB, which is the extra special bitter. So there you go. Just get the thumbnail right. There we go. So yes, Fuller's extra special bitter, 5.9%, and yeah, ESB, that's what it is. So the legendary ale, and yeah, it's won quite a lot of awards. So let's see, a bit of spiel in the back. Let's see what it says. So proudly pioneered by Fuller's, this is the ESB that started it all. With its deep mahogany colour, delicate bitterness, and orangey fruitcake flavour, it's no wonder that ESB is Fuller's most awarded beer and something of a legendary ale. Crafted from North Down, Challenger, Target and Goldings hops, as well as rich malts, this unique all British beer is brewed with pride in the heart of London. Truly an extra special bitter. And if you're wondering why I was reading it in a bit of a weird way, is because it's gold, and I had to keep adjusting it for the light so I could actually see the bloody writing, because it's not very clear against the kind of metallic blue background, the light blue background, and then you have the gold lettering, and I was struggling to actually see the bloody words. So yes, so yeah, this is one of the big hitters again. So it is. So let's crack it open and see what it's like. Woohoo! Let's see. So another one that's a bit kind of fruity in its kind of makeup. So as you can see, yes, it's kind of amberish, so it is. Apparently it's got a kind of gentle bitterness to it. So you can see nice and clear, kind of amber, not a bad kind of head, maybe about a finger at max of a head. Smell wise, well, I'm getting some malts, but light malts, not the kind of more richer ones that we're getting in the previous beer that I reviewed, which was Otterhead. So yeah, kind of lighter malts, paler ones as I would say. I'm not really getting else, not really getting something in the hops front or anything like that, not getting any really hop smells or grain smells, just light malts, and that's really it. So let's see what it tastes like. Yeah. Yes. That's an interesting one. Don't want to give too much away. But yeah. What I like about it is you're getting a little bit of bitterness at the front and a bit of bitterness at the back, but you're not getting any lingering kind of real bitterness in the aftertaste. But there is a bit of bitterness at the front of the mouth, just starting onto the kind of mid tongue. So there's a bit of bitterness front and back. There is a bit of sweetness, a bit of malty sweetness there, but again, it's not really particularly strong. And you are getting little accents of kind of slightly dried fruit, kind of slightly fruitiness, but just little light accents. So they are not really in your face, but it's got a really nice mouthfeel. So it has. Let's see if we can break this down. Okay. At the front of the mouth, you're getting some malty sweetness, some nice light malty sweetness. You're getting a little hint of grain, slightly earthy kind of grainish flavour. But what you're also getting is just little accents of bitterness, just little accents of bitterness coming through, and it's just kind of tailing off from the little kind of grain accents you're getting, this kind of little earthy grainness that you're getting. Moves on to the kind of mid-tongue. The malty sweetness has died down a wee bit, but it's still there. You're getting a little bit of grain still there, but what you are getting is little accents of fruit, slightly kind of light dried fruits that you're getting in the mid-tongue. But when you get a little accent of the dried fruits, as that little accent kind of dissipates in the mid-tongue, you just get a little bitterness accent kind of following it. So you're just getting boom boom little bits of fruit, but you also get a little bits of bitterness accents just kind of coming off them in the tail end of each one. You then move on to the kind of aftertaste. Now, as you move into the aftertaste, your kind of fruity kind of flavours, accents, they've disappeared. You still have this light underlying kind of malty sweetness, but you're starting to get a little bit more grain in the aftertaste, and it's slightly earthy. It's almost very similar to what you're getting at the front of the mouth, but just with a little bit more body and a little bit more depth. Just so it's a little bit stronger as well. But as part of that, you're getting a little bit more continuous bitterness following that kind of grain flavour. And yes, it's not a strong bitterness, but there is quite an easily identifiable bitterness in the aftertaste. And it's just kind of tailing off these kind of grain flavours. And slightly earthiness that's there as well. And overall, it's not a sweet beer in any way, shape or form. There is a malty sweetness, but it's very, very light and really doesn't give you the impression of sweetness. You know it's there, and it's just really kind of, it's like a kind of a lightning highlight basically. So it just kind of provides a bit of lightness to the beer body, but doesn't actually give you a distinct flavour of sweetness in any way, shape or form. So it is a bitter, and it is obviously more on the kind of bitter side. It's not on the kind of sweet side in that kind of format. And I do like a bitter. I'm a sucker for the bitterness. So I like beers with a bit more bitterness to them. I like malty sweetness, and that's why I like this as well, because you're getting a nice blend. You're getting that kind of malty sweetness, but it's just providing kind of a lightness to the beer. But you are getting a good amount of bitterness, not overall strong bitterness, but what you are doing is you're getting some nice bitterness throughout the whole beer. So it's not just at the tail end, it's not just one end. You're getting it dispersed throughout the beer, which makes it quite nice and more interesting. And again, it's nice to have a beer where you're getting a bit of grain to it as well, because I think sometimes that's kind of forgotten. They're too busy trying to get all the other bloody flavours that they forget that kind of more traditional base flavours are also very nice in beer. So it's nice to have that. Yeah, the little accents of fruit, that's fine and things like that. But again, they're not strong enough to really kind of change the beer away from the kind of traditional, kind of more bitter kind of style of beer. But it just again adds that little dimension that also makes the beer a bit more interesting and just a bit more livelier in the mouth and more interesting in the mouth. But yeah, it's got a nice mouthfeel, and it is, you just got this nice bitterness that just kind of, it doesn't linger, it just kind of floats about. You know, you stop drinking, you just have this kind of, you know, you just get this little kind of slightly bitterness sensation in the mouth that just floats about, which I quite like that, because it does want to kind of entice me into having another sip from that point of view. So yeah, it's a nice beer. I mean, the best way to kind of look at what I like about Fuller's is Fuller's doesn't try to kind of create a trend within their products, or even to the point of really linking their products. I mean, you've got London Pride Ale, you've got this ESB Extra Special Bitter, you've got their Porter, the London Porter, you've got their Black Cab Stout. They're all very good beers in their own right, and they're all very kind of standalone from that point of view. They're just a good example of that style of beer, and that's what I like about the Fuller's Brewery. It's not like trying to get accents of one beer into another and all this. It's just trying to kind of that connection between the products and give that kind of brewery footprint that some of them go for. That you know, you've got to be able to pick up a glass and be able to say, oh, it's definitely from that brewery, because that's their kind of signature kind of flavour notes and their kind of flavour footprint and things like this. No, Fuller's is like, right, we want to do a good ale, so we'll do a good ale. We want to do a good bitter, we'll do a good bitter. We want to do a good porter, we'll do a good porter. We want to do a good stout. And it's more important to get a good product at the end of the day, rather than some sort of kind of identifiable footprint that people can think, oh well, that's definitely got to be from this brewery because that's their kind of signature. And no, their attitude seems to be more about making a good beer and making it more to a kind of traditional style. I mean, they have their own little kind of quirks and everything else, but they understand that there's nothing wrong in brewing a beer in a more traditional way and having a more traditional product in the bottle. And I like that, because I think too many breweries, big and small, tend to kind of shy away from that and want to try and make the next best thing or the next best trend or whatever and things like that. And my view is, well, why not just concentrate on just making a good traditional beer for whatever style it is. And it's nice. I think they also do a craft lager. I'm trying to remember what they call it. They do a kind of craftish kind of lager. I remember that, because I think it was launched, that lager was launched about 2014, 2015. I've never tried it, and I wanted to try and get a bottle of it to try and see what it's like. But I just like the Fuller's Brewery because it seems to be no nonsense, straight down the road. If you like a more traditional style beers, then what you get from them is a good example of that kind of style of brewing and that style of beer, with a kind of honesty to it, and a kind of price point as well to kind of match, because again the pricing seems to be kind of spot on from that point of view. You never turn around and think that the Fuller's ales and things like that, oh, they're too expensive, they're too overpriced. No, they just seem to be just at the right price point, so you're getting a really good quality beer that's been brewed well at a good price point. And I think that's all you can really ask for a lot of the times. But this beer, there is bags of flavour, absolute bags of flavour. And they're interesting flavours as well. Session wise, now again, if I go for a more kind of Yorkshire bitter, now the Yorkshire bitter probably has a bit more bitterness to it, but has less complex flavours. So I would probably say a more traditional Yorkshire bitter is more sessionable, more drinkable. This one, there is a complexity of the flavours that just kind of takes some of the session kind of ability off it a little bit. I would say it's the case as, oh yes, I could drink a few of them, but I don't know if I could maybe have a session on it. I think it'd be quite kind of difficult, unless I was mixing them up with, say, London Pride. So if I was doing alternate London Pride ESB, then fine. If it was just on ESBs, I think probably 2 or 3 would be enough for me, and then I would want to go on something else. But that's one of my drinking styles as well, is I like to kind of alternate. So if I'm going to have a session, I find it very difficult to stick with just the one beer. I'd have to kind of at least have 2 beers, maybe more, and do a session that way, and yeah, alternate between them and things like that. And it just kind of obviously, but they've got to be slightly different as well. So I don't want the same types of beers, because again, it just helps to kind of chop and change the palate. So I just don't get sick of it and tired of it from that point of view. So this one, slightly borderline sessionable for me, but it might be more sessionable for other people. But yeah, if I alternated this between the ESB and London Pride, then yeah, I could probably have them and have a good session on them, not a problem. And I think it'd be quite good from that point of view. But at the end of the day, it's at the stronger end anyway. It's 5.9, so it's almost 6%. So even then, just with the alcohol content, it's making it kind of less sessionable from that point of view, because again, you would associate more traditional Yorkshire bitter being more sessionable, and you could just be sitting there in the pub just necking them back quite easily. This is, it is a more kind of traditional English bitter, and yes, it does have the alcohol content to go with that, so it's less sessionable for that, especially from the alcohol content, but also for the kind of complexity of flavours, that also kind of makes it less sessionable. But yes, I would probably say 2 or 3 would be enough of this type of beer. But again, just taking your time and enjoying them, and not just kind of necking them just because you can, from that point of view. So, what would I give this out of 10? Well, again, it depends what you're kind of looking for. I mean, I do like bitters and that type of stuff, and from that point of view, I do like a sessionable Yorkshire bitter, and I do like to kind of get wired into this. This is obviously a bit more complex, a bit kind of slightly richer in flavour body, and obviously in alcohol content. So from that, you've got to treat it a bit differently, especially from my point of view. But yeah, ESB, what would I give this? I'm going to give this an 8. I'm going to give it an 8. It is a nice traditional bitter. It's got bags of flavour, it really has got bags of flavour. And the flavours are interesting, and there's a good complexity to it. Mouthfeel, really nice. The bitterness I like, because you're getting bitterness throughout the beer. And it's nice, but again, it's not overpowering, it's not sickening, but there is that kind of just nice kind of, it's like a kind of a flow going from front of the mouth to the aftertaste, and there's a nice kind of flow going there. So there's a flow with the malty sweetness, there's a flow with the kind of bitterness, how it's kind of dissipated throughout the beer. And there's just some nice little kind of interesting accents that are there in the front of the mouth and the mid tongue that just again just adds that little extra complexity. So yeah, it is a very good beer. It is a well brewed beer, but I think if you go and look at the awards as it's won, you don't need me telling you it's a good beer. And yeah, it's 8 out of 10, and I would recommend it if you want something more kind of traditional, but like a bit of bitterness to it as well, and not having it just at the one end like a strong aftertaste. It's kind of dissipated throughout the beer. That's quite nice. It's well kind of how would you say? But yeah, it's kind of well mixed throughout the beer. So it's a good, it's an interesting one, and to a certain degree, it's probably a bit unusual just because of how they managed to kind of spread it out throughout the beer, which is quite nice. So yes, it's an 8 out of 10. I would definitely recommend it. Give it a go if you like kind of more slightly bitter style beers. Or you just want a beer to try that's a bit more interesting and a bit more complex within the flavours of this style of beer, which is kind of obviously a lighter kind of bitter. So, 8 out of 10, 5.9%. It's roughly about £2 a bottle, slightly over, slightly under, just depending on where you're buying it. The 500ml bottle. Thanks for watching. Cheers, and bye for now.